My first question is, what currently constitutes progressive education? I'm going to look back to the past. Like a lot of you, I'm familiar with the work of John Dewey, who of course is the philosopher, the psychologist, and the school reformer, one of the original leaders of the progressive education movement. He once said, "Give the pupils something to do, not something to learn, and the doing is of such a nature as to demand thinking. Learning naturally results." In other words, progressive education is experiential learning. I don't have any problem with this, but I'm aware that quotes like this can lead to those stereotypes that Tom was talking about. But Dewey also said, and he refined his thinking a bit, and he said, "The belief that all genuine education comes about through experience does not mean that all experiences are genuinely or equally educative." So in other words, progressive education is thoughtfully designed experiential learning. In other words, if we want students to learn how to read and value it, we should give them books to read and an opportunity to discuss those books. We should also be thoughtful in our choice of books and how we scaffold their discussions. We should allow our students to become readers. This isn't really a controversial idea, especially not for people in this room. You see people talking about this in what we probably call traditional classrooms. We want our students to be readers, writers, mathematicians, and the like. How do we build on this current model of progressive education? How do we take it into the future is my next question. Recently, I attended a conference hosted by the Hewlett Foundation that's been in my mind a lot. I've been thinking about what the Hewlett Foundation calls deeper learning. That's not only mastering academic content, letting students become readers, writers, and mathematicians, but allowing them to think critically, working collaboratively, communicating effectively, and learning how to learn. With those skills, I can allow my students not only to become readers, writers, mathematicians, scientists, social scientists, and the like, but I can allow them to become empathetic and responsible partners in their personal relationships, productive, independent members of our society, informed and active citizens in our democracy, and specialists in fields of their choice. One way I try to give them this experience now while they're young, because I believe it's the best way that they'll learn it, is through something called critique, which is a system of giving feedback to revise and improve the quality of your work, originally developed by Ron Berger. On the screen, you see the drawing of a first grader named Austin. I believe that's draft 6 or 7. He only received feedback from other first graders because the protocols involved in critique. An author introduces his or her work. They receive praise from other students, and then they receive constructive criticism, which they may choose to use or not to use. I introduced this to my students on the first day of school through drawing. Immediately, we move into writing. And at this point in the year, we are critiquing everything that happens in the classroom, every rule, routine that I do. The students informally critique my teaching, and they informally critique the assignments because I've modeled it, because I give them that experience, and I support them with things like sentence frames. Recently, they began giving me formal critique anonymously on what we call the teacher report card. So here, I've decided what my focus is for the week. We have a classroom camera. I say, how did I introduce the classroom camera? What went well that I can repeat again with my third graders next year? And what would you have me improve if you could? So having introduced it myself, I'm going to allow a student to introduce her thoughts on critique. And I hope that you'll see how the skills that she's acquired through the process will help her in the future.
Do you think you'll use critique after third grade?
Yes.
Why?
Because it is actually really helpful and you can learn a lot from it.
Can you use it by yourself at home?
Yes.
Do you ever use it without a teacher?
Yes. Like to my mom, like when she's doing something, maybe cooking.
You critique your mom's cooking?
Oh, sometimes.
Can you give me an example of something you'd say?
Well, I like how you added this, but maybe you can consider adding that.
Okay, so what I hope you'll take away from my 5 minutes is, if you think experiential learning works, I'm assuming a lot of you already do, I would like you to consider what else you want your students to learn besides reading, math, and writing, and give them that chance to do that right away.